Hello. Greetings, my fellow divine co-creative celestial beings of the now. Welcome to Planet Collingwood here on Studio A Revolution Radio. Freedomslips.com. A big thank you to Why Not and crew for the Y-Files. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio and donate what you can. We are 100% listener supported and 100% volunteer. And if you listen carefully, my next door neighbour is doing construction because at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, that's when you do friggin' construction. And while you're at the said website, yes, I'm live and on air, and the audio is good, excellent, because working. That's how I loll. And I've closed my small window of Skype, and I have no idea how to bring it back. It's annoying. Anywho, we'll get to that. It's Planet Collingwood for another week, so let's see if we can get through some comedy and vanquish the doom junkies to another region or dimension or reality or insert name here. And we've got a couple of things to go through, but I have been joined by my New South Wales correspondent who is in lockdown. He's not in jail, well, or is he? Cortek, are you there, my friend?
G'day, I am here.
Excellent.
Three for three, yes.
Now, what is your estimation on what week are we on to flatten the curve?
I think until I'm advised differently, I count it out as week 67 to flatten the curve.
Yes. Yeah, it's a long 15 days.
I think we've got to assume at this point the government does want to give the power back. And everyone's kind of thinking, well, if we just do this, then we'd be allowed to travel and see our family and overseas and stuff like that. But there's been no talk of that at all, no promises, no talk of that at all.
Well, no, they tried the whole vaccine thing, and now it's basically even if you are fully vaccinated, you can still be infected and get sick. I'm like, well, that's great.
Great plan, guys. Yeah, we shouldn't have taken us even 2 weeks to come up for that.
Yeah, still working on stuff. Yeah, our data set is from February 2020. Like, well, good. Yeah, it's probably not going to work. There's a new variant out there. Yeah, viruses actually get weaker. They become more contagious, but they're not as strong because they're trying to survive. And here we are. Yeah. And there's a rabbit hole we can get down. Tonight's show is brought to you by Q Heal, quantum healing hypnosis technique in Sydney and Melbourne. And because we're flip-flopping, I'm in restrictions and Cortek is in lockdown. I think South Australia and Victoria are in lockdown. No, we're restricted and the rest of the country's in lockdown. So I giggle when you say, oh, the pandemic's over.
No.
For you. And
it's an endemic, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it will not endemic. Yes,
and it's just these peaks and troughs. It's just constantly peaks and troughs. This seems like the pattern, and at this point, I think we should be asking some questions about the data to begin with, and why we are following this ridiculous chain of events.
Oh well, the term "kicking the can down the road." That's just think that, hang on, I'm just going to write your name down. So Cortek. I just had a flashback of a Yahoo Serious movie where he did Nick Kelly. He's teaching his dog how to speak. Cornflakes.
I saw that classic movie about the people doing the bad lip reading that they do on YouTube.
Yes.
So that original Australian version of that is hilarious.
I told you. Now, I should finish the sponsorship. If you feel like getting a session with Paul, I would recommend it. It changed my life, and people keep saying in the chat, are you going to talk about it? Yeah, I do. I'm not telling you everything. That's for me. You talk to your higher self, which is you, and it's like, oh. And, of course, the higher self knows a lot, but it won't tell the lower self too much because that's part of the experience to let it unfold in front of you. It's like, oh, that's why I bought bananas this week. Okay. So there, and also brought to you by SJ's Ninja Dojo for Squirrels, a place where your fur babies learn the way of the squinger. Yeah. SJ's Ninja Dojo for Squirrels. Let your rodent defend you. Now, I believe, yes, we've created another guest out of manifestation.
There's a portal opening.
Yeah, and there's a long boat. It's the Viking. How are you, sir?
Doing good, gents.
Hey, Viking.
So I have this algorithm theory that this new Delta variant is the reaction to the jab.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine that here after taking the shot and you're getting sick. Now they're calling it the Delta variant.
Yes, because of racism, they've gone from where they actually started and moved to Greek alphabet, and so Omega.
Well, now, are you not saying, Viking, that they're using actually the damage that the initial thing's doing to call another strain of the virus?
They're calling it a strain, but it's actually the reaction to the vaccination.
Are most of the kind of reactions to Delta thing coming from people who have already had the first jab?
Yeah, about 90%.
Well, the numbers here in Australia.
So get that second jab, guys. Right? The second one's. It's like what happened here in the States is 60%, because there's such a need and a hysteria around the vaccination that they put out what I know is duds and live rounds. So 60% of the vaccinations that occurred were duds. But now this is why they encourage you to get 2 shots, right? The second shot is going to really be the live round. And that's where the Delta variant now is coming from, is people getting sick from this vaccination. And they instead of admitting that it's the vaccination, they're calling it a Delta variant.
Yeah, I remember when they actually called it for, the variants came from different parts of the planet. And in England, they had the Brazilian variant, and in Brazil, they had the English variant. So,
just tit for tat.
Yeah.
India's
Damn
where
you,
Delta variant's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
Mm.
But, you don't use logic and critical thinking, because, they had this mass wave of vaccination, and then all this stuff kicks in. I'm like, oh, there's no connection. Right. Yeah. Interesting enough, the numbers, like if you delve into the Australian one, where there's like 14 cases and the total lockdown, there's no deaths, there's no one in ICU. Apparently there's been 1 death from COVID this year, and there's been over 300 from vaccines. But, play those numbers.
Actually, there's been no deaths from COVID. COVID never existed to begin with.
Then how did all these people die?
Natural deaths. You die from influenza, you die from pneumonia, you die from old age, you die from diabetes, you die from car crashes. There's been less deaths since this whole thing started than previous years, because they basically kept people isolated.
I've definitely seen more than a few doctors come out and speak out how they've been coerced to put down the cause of death being COVID as well.
Oh no, it's the whole sham. I mean, because hospitals were getting, I forget how much per patient, $50,000 if they died of COVID. I mean, it's some ridiculous amount.
How's the Philippines president? He must be getting kickbacks like he's never seen before. He's like, look, you guys have got to get it, because I got to cut them each one, or you're going to jail.
Yeah, he likes his power. Let's be fair. Go ahead, Viking.
So there's a coalition of professors and doctors that have approached the CDC for a sample of the COVID, and they don't have any. They were able to provide a sample.
Yeah, I think it's just
and also the CDC already admitted last June that the deaths that were being reported were skewed, and that there was just basically normal influenza. And they've already admitted this, but it's just like the way that the narrative that was carried was a false flag and an absolute scamdemic to create chaos. I predicted this on your show in 2019. Remember when we were there in September, and Hijacker was saying, "Oh, there's going to be a nuclear war in Middle East in March," and I made him a bet. And I said there's going to be a pandemic. It's going to affect it's going to lock down humanity, affect the elections, and then they're going to try to create a vaccination. And all 3 occurred, and I saw it happening. And so this whole thing is a ruse. It's a complete ruse.
Yeah. See, I I'm just going to be pedantic, but I'm not having a go at you. I'm starting that out because in this day and age, you have to point that out. It's like I hope my tone is not. My family's interesting, where I can say I love you, but it sounds like I'm going to stab you. It comes out in the really bad tone.
Go, Captain P Pants.
Yes, that's right. And thank you, Wonder Boy, Wonder Bread Boy. I don't know what I'm talking about, but we have capes.
Pedantic Pants, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were thinking.
I don't. I wasn't. That's the problem. So a sickness has been mislabeled, and so that's where I'm sort of, COVID doesn't exist, but something does. And it's just a new form of influenza, or if we lean into it. Have you noticed? See, we can go anyway. This is going to fill up 2 hours. So.
I put it to you that a lot of the people who are really vocal on social media were completely targeted with something as well.
Yeah, well, we haven't get to the fear component of the media and the government ramping it up, which affects people's immune system. And so if it was leaked or released, I think it was leaked. I don't think they released it because you can see how pathetic all these idiots in charge are. Like, oh, crap. It's like, yeah.
I think they straight out released it 10 years ago. I might have been, feeling like I'd be in a position to give institutions like this the benefit of the doubt, but I think that's kind of worn off now. I don't think there's any benefit of the doubt left.
Yeah, no, it's getting the. Well, I've heard people that they're for vaccination and they want to open up society, but the government's response
when has the government
to it is
ever said that they will open the borders if everyone gets vaccinated? Never, ever, ever.
Oh, they alluded to it for so long.
Well, people think that automatically because that's the reason why it disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no promise.
No. I mean, have you seen any? Well, I saw, any government or news outlet saying, eat healthy and get exercise and boost your immune system. I haven't seen any of that, but I did see an article from the BBC saying that the immune system is a right-wing conspiracy. I'm like, I'm not going to read this. That's just stupid. So I would say, like, even when all this started, why didn't we act during flu season in 2019? I think a man-made, weaponized, poorly made variant of the flu or influenza got out, and they went into panic mode, and they're calling it COVID. And so that's where, not having a go at Viking, but he's correct. But there is, it's influenza or the cold or something, because people do get it and they feel like utter crap. Even people get, they kind of sense it's like, well, did we get it before October 2019? Because it could have been out there. It just seemed to all happen. But then you have the whole thing of, elderly people who are dying from COVID. Well, no, they're probably sick. And the government, the medical profession's not even treating it. They're just trying to keep people breathing. And then you have all this fear ramping up. And so people choose, I can't see my family. I'm giving up.
Whose stupid call was it just not to kind of, barricade the old people up? And basically, they hang out with themselves in old people's homes anyway.
Let's turn out of the three of us, I'm going to nominate Viking as the historian because he's way more knowledge than us. Well, in mainstream history of 7,000 years, when in human history have we quarantined the healthy?
Quarantine the healthy. I can't,
Exactly. Well, the answer is
unprecedented.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead, sir.
I know they've they've capped they've basically rounded up the healthy and during the Inquisition, that was a whole.
Yeah.
Oh, do the people who wear glasses count?
I remember it too well. I've been burnt to the stake, and it's not fun.
No, it's like that's.
How long did it take?
No. Yeah, let's remind him of it. Thanks, Cortek.
You have to be one with the fire, and then you have to leave your body.
How long it takes. Got to be no other way.
It's basically a choice and surrender. It's like I'm on fire. I could scream for 20 minutes, or I could go into shock or have a heart attack and decide that's enough. And you move on.
It sends waves of unpleasant feelings throughout my body.
Oh yeah,
pain can be mastered.
Yeah.
The only pain I haven't mastered is heartbreak.
Well, yeah. So, so many jokes, so many jokes.
Maybe that can never be mastered. That one.
I remember
Maybe
watching.
Should never be mastered.
I remember watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? And the sketch was they're floating down a river in Africa. And says, be careful. A hippo can tear a man apart. What about a woman? Well, yes, true. A woman can tear a man apart as well. It's just brilliant. Anyway.
do hippos go and stamp out fire if you're out there like gods must be crazy?
I don't know.
Okay.
Are you thinking of elephants when they remember?
Is it elephants? It's either hippos or elephants.
You can
They're
just
like
see some great
fire
stuff where. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because elephants remembers like, it's the big glowy thing again. I'm not going through that again. Stop that, silly human. There's footage though of not just elephants but animals. There is that connection where they haven't seen someone. If you say a young girl raises a calf or a donkey, the donkey.
Oh my god!
And elephants is like they'll remember it. Usually, if you're near an elephant, be nice to it, and then 20 years later, they'll remember that you were nice to it. If you're being a prick to it, they'll start throwing handlers at you. Like, simmer down. No.
I saw elephants once close up in Southeast Asia and was going up and patting their trunks and it kind of did like a breakdancing move with its trunk down to its foot and lifted its foot up, which had a shackle around it. And I was going, oh, this is all just a bit too real.
Yeah, this is
just talking to me. He's talking to me.
You're a kind-hearted soul. Get me out of this. Give
horrible.
me a cake with a file in it or something.
So obvious, communicating that you didn't want to be shackled up, and I just powerless.
Yeah, we live in interesting times. Thank you, China, for that. You wacky funsters. And I'll just quit while I remember, because I missed it last week, so I'll do it again. I'll do the top 9 for Planet Collingwood. We'll see how it goes. There's comedy. It may not make you cry, or it may make you cry because it's that bad. We'll see what happens. But I just came up with a scenario of how everything's getting PC and SJW, and of course there'll be rewriting history. That's actually one of the news articles. Disney has decided to change the name of Boba Fett's ship to Boba Fett's ship from Slave One.
What?
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because
you can't do that. That's like saying Pluto's not a planet anymore.
I know. It's like what you can't call it Slave One, but you have slaves make the toy. But anyway, moving on. This is the top the top 9 left re-recordings of top albums, and the numbers don't mean much. It's just the jokes, really.
Wait! That was too fast. This is the top 9 re-recording
by the left of top albums.
All right, okay, ready.
So basically, I'll be a bit transparent. I just typed in the top 20 albums of all time, and just changed the titles. So AC/DC, Australians, for a Scottish background, and back in Woken Black. So there's that one. There'll be a lot of all right. Guns N' Roses, Work for Destruction. Number 7, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Woke. Number 6, Metallica and Woke for All. Number 5, Radiohead, OK Woke Computer. I like that one. I just added a word.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they sort of came up with their own Hail to the Thief. It was like, yeah, that's George Jr. Number 4, Queen, Awoke at the Opera. So that would be interesting. Led Zeppelin. Number 3, Woke 4, because number 4 still doesn't have a name. Number 2, The Beatles, Sergeant Woke's Liberal Hearts Club Band. And number 1 by Pink Floyd, Woke Side of the Moon. So that's the top guy. Yeah, I can get rid of that. So that's just me being silly, and why not? Or Tony. No, we can. That's the point. If you're new to the show, the idea is just to release some tension, because we have the station to go into in depth and game out and find out information. I'm just a clown in a clown world, trying to make you giggle.
Can I say, in terms of quad news and things with 4 propeller blades on them, Someone's taken, I think it's the same people who they run a game. It's a simulation for quad racing, FPV quad racing, which is where you get a little remote control quadcopter and put a camera on the front, then put goggles on. And they go super fast, but there's a simulation so you don't have to damage kind of quads and stuff like that. But those people have actually made a real life one. A real life size one, and they couldn't do it anywhere but Croatia. But it's on the internet somewhere. I think it's DCL, and they've done a few tests, and they were doing acro flips and stuff like that. So it's happening. They're going to race these things. I reckon it's going to be spectacular if someone.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I like the idea of flying cars, but I don't at the same time because I actually drive a car and I see what people do on the ground.
Imagine flying cars with like 2 feet spinning blades on 4 corners of it.
Yeah, with people who drive normal cars on the road that keep getting into accidents.
No.
So I'm like, yeah, that's going to be fun.
It's going to be great to watch.
Well, yeah, we're doing a show like right now and then a car falls onto my house.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, I was changing the CD player and I just, I sneezed and the car just dipped.
Like geoengineering over highly densely populated areas, I don't think it should be done where anyone lives,
Yeah, yeah. So try the country. Did you see another news story? The first. Well, I'm not sure it's the first, but a binary English person who has a male skeleton. I thought of that earlier. It's like, I'll get around this, but he does have a male. It does have a male skeleton. However, spent thousands of dollars and many an operation because he feels Korean because he was born in the wrong body. So he's transracial, and so he's Korean now.
What did he start out at?
Just like us, Pommy. So an English citizen is now claiming that he's a Korean English citizen.
I'd like to know if it's North or South Korea, and I'd like to know how they feel about that.
Well, of course, the woke mob went nuts. How can you do this? You bigot, blah blah blah. And if you're on Facebook. Ben Shapiro, just like a less than a 5-minute video, pointed out it's like, they are as much Korean as Caitlyn Jenner is much as a woman. You bigots. So yeah, we're finally like, I'm getting the feeling here where just look after yourself, save the world, save yourself, save the world, and just all this insanity, just let it go. Because like the left can't meme, but they just eat their own, and if we allow them to, go ahead, go enjoy that. They'll come back in about a week and a half, going, "Can I have some help? I don't know how to do this." So yeah, transracial, ladies and gentlemen. There's also another a large man with Caucasian genetics believes that he's a female Filipino. Yeah. So apparently this is we're making shit up now. But because I said that, I'm an ist and a phobe and a bigot. But free will's like you do you, sir, madam, it.
It's very Candide, tend to your garden-ish.
Well, it is. It's like I feel like I'm born in my own body. I'm wondering if there's a spiritual element of like they're remembering past lives of like 1,500 years ago. This gentleman was or non-binary. Like it's a social construct. Compared to the rest of nature, it's not. But anyway, go ahead, Viking.
That's my whole deal. I mean, I kind of was activated about 22 years ago. I first saw a man wearing a kilt, and so something just clicked inside of me. And about 2 months later, I was wearing a kilt.
Like seeing something from a dream, and it just triggers that memory kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, not a dream, a past life. It was like, you have to understand that back during the times of the Vikings and the Scots and all those guys, pants didn't exist. There was no pants. Pants came in when the Mongols raided Europe on horseback, and they brought the advent of pants, right? So I got this trigger.
For horse chafing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole purpose for pants. And so I when I first put my kilt on, Because I was a businessman at the time and ran a corporation, and how am I going to go into the bank wearing a kilt? And I had all these things that where I was kind of wondering how if I can get away with this. But then from the minute I put it on, it's something activating, something clicked, like
power kilt,
like a combination lock, and I just felt like, oh my God, I'm home. And from that point on, I never wore pants. So it's 22 years.
What's the little bag for?
And then because I wore this kilt, I started seeing my Viking essence, and it wasn't very long after that I changed my name to. I literally go by the Viking. No, my other name is gone. Everybody knows me as the Viking, and that's it. So I went through this whole trance stage of my own evolution of remembering, and then being able to then just absorb myself into this affinity of all my attributes through my past lives.
Can I go back, Viking, a little bit on memory then? Like I would hold something that I maybe dreamed and got triggered about that memory from something I saw in a day-to-day life, probably in the same aspect or category as I would the rest of my memories. I don't really think about categorizing my memories like that or being particular in how I sort them,
So
maybe it's something to think about. I don't know.
If you want to be starting to address your past lives, start with your affinities and attributes. Why do you have an affinity for sushi or samurai swords or certain music, cultural music, or certain, for me it's the feel of carpets, and because I was a Persian trader and the smell of spices, and definitely I can go around the world and know, like I was in India, I was in Rajasthan back in '77, and I was in Jaipur, and just walking down the main thoroughfare of the marketplace, the smell just took me back, and I knew I'd been here before. Knew it, just because of the smell. So smells, so these tactile smells, visuals, hearing Persian music and classical music. I start conducting. All of a sudden my hands will start to move. Like I'm a conductor, and I've been conducting. Like I was actually Beethoven kind of a person, like a composer. Going back to street fairs and I could feel it. And you have to trust what you're seeing. If you start trusting what you're seeing to be true, then those memories start flooding back. And again, where would they be coming from if you hadn't had that experience at some point in your past life?
What's your thought about past life regression, and do you think that relies heavily on the interpretation for the person doing the hypnosis?
I don't know. I've never experienced it. Actually, that's not true. I actually did get activated when I was on a table once, where it took me back to a Viking time when I was with a small contingent. You understand the Vikings had 2 or 3 ships, and there might be 40 men. But the raid party was only 12 strong. So you have 12 what they call mariners, and what we know now as Marines, as an elite force of the Viking contingent. And we go in first, the first wave of pillaging a village. And I got this whole scenario where the woman I was dating at the time I'd actually abducted in that village, and it was kind of really, really an interesting a throwback, and actually wrote a story about it. But so you have to, it will start to trigger or activate certain response in your Akash or in your past life memory bank, which is called the Akash, where everything is recorded in light and sounds. You have the binary system of light and sound, not ones and zeros that take you back into your Akash. And also I was activated. I had a massage therapist one time who was very adept take off a Roman helmet I was still wearing, and I've gone through where I've had to pull knives out of my back, and I still suffer from
not real ones, obviously.
No, but they were there.
Energetic. I actually had that where now also it's not linear. Like you could be another person that's living in Belgrave, wherever that is on the planet. Melbourne, it's a suburb, but it could be Belgrade. One of my lives was ended abruptly, and apparently I wasn't happy about it. I'm like, that's why I'm a bit cranky. But I was shot through the through the neck with an arrow because I was
the larynx. It sounds like.
Yeah, Billy. Cranky. He runs with cranky pants. But it was a Native American, and I think Crow came to mind. But anyway, I basically had to make the physical motion of removing it from my neck because it was there energetically, sort of hanging over from a past life.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, and even with my QHHT session, the past life I was sort of hinted at. I was a little girl, I think, in the Midwest of the United States, and it was basically why was I showing that? It's like I need more feminine energy, and it was like, oh, that makes sense, but I don't want to wear dresses. I understand that's a part and aspect of me. So
no, I think if you were going through all that stuff, you would experience female as much as male.
Oh yeah, because we're all a little bit gay. No.
I could actually track my my past lives coming in as a Viking from Iceland to Greenland, down into Hudson Bay, into Michigan, where I actually the Vikings at that time were the contingent I was with befriended the local tribes, and we would actually sortie with them from occasion, and from that point I actually started incarnating as Native American. I was actually Blackfeet, Nez Perce, Dogmen, and from that point I'm kind of shady, but
it almost sounds like a linear progression, though.
Yeah, well, I also have this condition with my left knee where there's like a protrusion sticking out of the kneecap. It's called Osgood-Schlatter, but I traced that injury back to where I was a Mayan runner, because they would run from. So when they set up the Four Corners, they set up Chaco Canyon was the place where they did the Mayan calendar. And so they would have runners run down into Mexico, and we'd have to bring back feathers and certain stones and herbs and stuff, and we'd bring we were like messengers, right? And one journey, I had stepped into a pothole and snapped my leg and died, and that was it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So my leg still has that injury.
Yeah, and if you want to really
feather competition.
Yeah, and Cortek, if you really want to bake your noodle, start trying to tap into your future lives, because you won't have any context at all. And it's like, wait, what?
How do we do that again?
No, don't. It's all about it's all about your life right now. And
you are your future life, because past, present, and future is folded into the infinite experience, where there was 0 point of non-time.
Yeah, and usually when at the moment, in this moment of now, in the epoch of light, if you're delving into the past lives, it's usually just to rectify problems and give you sort of support of what you're living now. This life is the most important one at this moment of the now. And I think with Viking doing all his work is so he can share that story and all the experiences with people to show that there are past lives. Because sometimes it's a rabbit hole. It's like, I need to know about my past life. It's like, yeah, but you haven't paid your electric bill for 4 months.
Priorities, people.
Yeah, it's like, we should live free. It's like, yeah, but unfortunately, the way that the reality's set up, you have to pay the bills. That's how it works.
I've got about 25 past lives I'm in touch with. I did a couple 100 years as samurai, Shaolin. I did some time in Shaolin temples, India.
Have you just taken the best bits from stories?
No.
Because many times people do past life regression, they go, oh yeah, and they said, I was the emperor of China.
Have you noticed?
I could also say I died in a ditch as an old man, rolled into a ditch and died, just in China, being a farmer, I was definitely a peasant, I mean,
What do you think? What do you think
Have you noticed Viking has never said he's Cleopatra or he's Joan of Arc, or he hasn't said he's. Usually,
I will say that though, in a recent interview with the commander of the Camelot round table,
yeah.
I was never seated at the round table, but I was a white knight.
Yeah, and I think thank you. That was going to be my example. A lot of people, because people in our circles, that the spiritual circles and the community, it's like if I have to meet, I've met 38 Cleopatras.
Yeah.
Only one of you.
37 of you are taking the piss.
Actually, probably all 38, because the person that probably is Cleopatra probably has no connection at all, because they don't want the weight of that life in this life now.
Yeah, she probably has some inside Egyptian knowledge, so she didn't have to go round and round the castle.
Yeah, well, and also in that sort of massive, I was John Lennon aspect.
Were you?
No,
I would
maybe. But my point is, you want to have a quiet life now. You don't want to have that you've achieved everything, especially if you're famous. That's a soul contract that's being fulfilled.
It's called a timeout lifetime where you can just sit and achieve your passion. I also had a really interesting life as a pirate, and in my pirate days, the ship I commanded was a frigate. No, it's a pirate. I'm not sure what kind of ship it was, but you had the sails and whatnot. But we were basically marauding the English ships, and so all my crew.
Oh, I was about to say.
Had various.
Were you an English mercenary then? But you were fighting the English mercenaries who
probably hired by the French or the Spanish.
That's how the pirates got started.
No, I was an independent.
They all said that.
No, I was independent. But all my crew had various couture from different battles, and I actually wore an English captain's coat. And my favorite was single shots. I was known for my single shots because I had 20 strapped to my body. I had them placed all over the ship. So what you do is you grab, you shoot and you drop them. And you grab two more and shoot and drop them.
Yeah.
And so, I would take these ships, and I was told I was kind of like the Robin Hood, where I would take a lot of what we captured, and just disperse it at the ports, the various ports of call.
Drinks for all.
Eventually, though, I was told I did go down with my ship.
Too much loot. We got to throw some of the loot over the side. No, we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
I was notorious, and they had to take me out, and then they did. But it took 3 ships to do it. So.
And the other thing about doing past lives is not to relive them. It's like I feel like I'm a pirate. Like, no, I've done that. So you notice Viking doesn't own 3 ships and starts raiding the coast of Norway. Because been there, done that. Yes,
right.
It's like that joke from The Simpsons with Grandpa. I swore I'll shoot down a German plane, and last year I actually did.
I spoke to an old guy in the UK who was in the war kind of thing, and he said, "Yeah, I've been to Germany once at 27,000 feet or something like that."
yeah. So those wacky European civil wars.
Here's another one. I still get. I mean, I was terrified when I went up the Eiffel Tower. Terrified, absolutely terrified, and just from the height, and that comes from being thrown off cliffs. It's definitely thrown off cliffs.
Yeah. Maybe you're thrown off the Eiffel Tower.
Well, no, the Eiffel Tower, but it was also the same with the Empire State Building and any tall building. I was at these. Anyway, I was thinking with heights, and that's because of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's past life or it's just survival / logic. Like I can go into a building, go up on it, but I'm not staying longer than 12 hours because, like, I don't know if it's the Pisces in me or just like survival thing of like, yeah, but if we're in an earthquake, we're screwed. Like, oh, you should move into an apartment building. No, like if I, like, this building's a kilometer. Well, I'm going to live 1.5 kilometers away from it because just knowing me, it's going to fall over and land on my house.
Right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
No, of course not. But by voicing it, I'm putting it out in the universe of like, oh, you don't want that. That's the fun part about living in this universe where you co-create your reality, and what
Yeah.
you focus on, the universe eventually gives it back. So if you say, I did this once where it was like apple, 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 and then 3 months later, I psychically had like 4 apples hit me in the head. It was like bam, 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 bam. It was like, fair
Just
enough.
took a while to get to you through the cosmos.
Yeah. See, now as a comedian, I would have thought one could be an iMac, but
I also have memories of Lemuria, but one of my favorite memories is being a merman off the coast of Ireland, and I was told by the mer people there that my trident is still there and embedded in the rock wall.
see, now that would be cool. Actually, speaking of Wall, now it's a TV show, but it's a good one. So nuts to you, dear listener. They're in
Dear
Battlestar. Beloved, I love you. Yep, putz. No, in Battlestar Galactica. Slight spoilers. Anyway, there's 12 models of Cylons, and then you've got the final 5 who actually figured out how to move consciousness and AI and all that type of thing. But they go back to the first version of Earth, which is destroyed by an atomic wall, and Galen is standing in front of a wall where there's a burnt patch. It's like, this is where I died, because he had that flashback of like, not really it's a past life because he's in a new body, but it was fascinating. It's like he's walking through this area, and it was a market and everything else. Like then there was a flash of light, and he turned, and then obviously he was vaporized. But he's standing in front of this wall where there's a shadow. It's like, well, that's where this is where I died. And I know it's a TV show, but still, it's an example.
That kind of image has got to bring back memories, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like, this is where I died 2,000 years ago. Oh, all right. Yeah.
So it was. So this is completely different. I think it was 2 weeks ago, but Never a Straight Answer came out with some new pictures of Ganymede. Did you see that?
No.
I'm not sure if you did. This time, you can't see the seam anymore from when they made the planet. Did you see that?
Oh, nice.
They've scrubbed it and just slowly working out there, stuff.
I'm actually working on another audiobook, and thanks to Apple, their operating system doesn't acknowledge my second monitor, so everything's done in one screen, and I'm saying short words.
Yeah, if your warranty's coming up to the time where it's nearly over.
No, it's actually
set your date back 4 years.
No, it's an operating system problem across the board. They moved up to OS 11.
Apple.
Yeah, actual Apple. It moved up to 11, and people are having problems where, a lot of people use second. If you're doing music or video or animation, gaming, anything else like that, everyone's like, "Are you going to fix this?" It's been half a year, and just 20 current year, nothing works,
Yeah, basically Apple's, there's no one at the helm. The Apple has been rotten for some time.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It's almost as similar what happened to Walt Disney, the Disney company. When the creator and owner and the main driving force dies, they take the soul of the corporation with them.
They just lose direction. That's all. There's no focus. You are then drawn into internal struggles about who's going to be the next one to call the shots, and in that time, you lose the creative output. This is basically an ad for dictatorships. But
I'll even put forward. I mean, George Lucas hasn't died, but he sold Lucasfilm, and you can see the change of direction there. Like once the creator's been removed, there's this arrogance thing. Oh, we can do better, and they keep failing. When Steve, I'm not saying Steve Jobs is God, and I have to buy everything Apple, but since he's dropped off, it's just gotten terrible or worse. However you think, you're
terribly worse.
Terribly worse.
Worsely terrible.
Yeah, terrible. Bloody French words again. Terrible. Yeah.
It's like taking a ship and removing the rudder. It has no direction.
Exactly.
You're going to say something else then.
Well, we are technically moving, but not the way we want to go. Hush.
Yes.
It's like taking a ship. Yes, hold your tongue, ladies and gentlemen. Say, I was born on a pirate ship.
I know what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
Did you see also during the week, Hyundai car maker bought Boston Dynamics off Google. So Google's no longer so much Skynet feeling. I don't know if I don't know if it's a PR thing or.
Yeah, I just found it odd that a search engine is trying to make robots.
I found a little disconcerting personally.
Yeah, look, I've got a Gmail account. Don't hurt me. All right.
Lure us into this free email business, and then you're going to get the dogs on us when you start to turn on the bills.
Yeah.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, it's like in the previous show, how can we help humanity? And it's like someone should really mention stop the corruption, because then we'll find, get rid of the corruption. We'll find out all this stuff, because we are one cat video away from freedom. I don't know what that cat video is, but I'm not looking for it. But when it's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I like to think it's Nyan Cat.
Go ahead, Viking.
It's an illusion to think that you can help humanity. You cannot help humanity. You can help yourself, and by helping yourself, enough of us wake up, then humanity will be. It's a different way of looking at it. You cannot help humanity. You are humanity, so help yourself.
Well, yeah, it's been put. The idea that it's like, oh, it's a mass awakening. Yeah, but it's an individual act where it's actually you do it yourself, and then if everyone does it, then it is all of humanity waking up. But the thing is, it's not everyone's going to wake up at the same time. It's your own personal journey, because we're all unique and co-creating. And
if you live the future that you wish to manifest today, then this is where you start to get into what you were saying earlier. Your future self. Your future self is your creative vision.
And also, too, Viking, would you agree, when you make these choices, and especially after the election in November, a lot of people have sort of given up, and their life has slightly gotten better because they're not looking at the news, they're not putting attention on the world's terrible, because it is if you look at the news.
Oh my God! If you haven't done it, turn off your free-to-air news. It will make your life 600% better. I believe that's 600%. You can do that.
Yeah, dear listener, I actually have watched free-to-air television for you, so you don't have to do it. And I can't do it more than 10 minutes because the low frequency, as Cortek points out, the ads that have been compressed. And coming up next, we have it's up there, and we're just going to an ad break. It's like, oh, gee, and it's just the level of
TV. This person died. Okay, tonight we're going to bring you 30 minutes of stories about things that you have absolutely no control about. This is to make you feel completely powerless. We're going to talk about death, disease. We're going to make you feel kind of really tense and anxious. And we won't even finish off with something nice at the end these days. And good night.
Well, yeah, you got the weather.
It's been weaponized for fear and chaos. That's exactly it. And then also the way, even the hurts that are coming out of your TV is designed to create agitation. I mean, it's the whole thing has been weaponized. I have certain subscriptions on YouTube, and all I do is read the box. Once in a while I'll dive into it, but I cannot even listen to the various puppets that are speaking. Is this? I mean, I'll get the algorithm.
It's acrid
I get the algorithm. I get what's happening. I get what their intentions are.
And get out.
I just all I need to see is just the box in about two seconds of the subscription. But it really is bad. I mean, and I think you're right. I think people's lives have improved. In as much as they are focusing more on their own creative will, but I think that's still a rare populace. It's still, people are still like, I mean, here we are, 2 weeks now, California, no masks, and people are still running around with masks on, and driving their cars with masks on, and
by themselves.
Yeah, by themselves.
People walking out there in the neighborhood by themselves, wearing a mask. It's like, oh.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but on the flip side, it's like, well, free will. It has to be an element of like, All right, wait a minute. Like,
All right, 2020 taught us that, didn't it? Let us not get triggered so easily.
Yeah, well, I learned that from The Last Jedi, because it's like I saw that and like, dear God, this is terrible. Then I realized my Jedi training is like, no, this is the path to the dark side.
That's all the new ones were about. They only merchandise kind of the storm.
You could definitely see how society has been polarized into two camps. It's bifurcated into two camps. There's definitely, you can see it so clear.
Well, actually, I think the controllers want that, but I would say there's more.
No, they don't want that.
Well, in a way, I'm sure some lower level management think they're doing the right thing because we can split them in half and they can fight each other. But there's more than two. There's a majority of two. But what I'm getting at is there's people like us who don't play their game. And
but that didn't work. I mean, all last year with BLM and all the riots and all that, they're on their own. Nobody. I mean, it just happened. They wanted us to step in. They wanted us to, to create civil war, but it didn't happen because people just
were sensible.
Yes,
they were just sensible and saw all this coming. And basically, their entire life of generations who are in power right now, the people who are like 40 or 50, have seen this coming since they were 10 years old.
And I think Australia is slightly unique as well because we have our Australian apathy. We are so behind in the vaccine rollout. It's like, what can we do? I think most of Australians are like, yeah, whatever.
I think Australia is actually maybe. I'm crossing my fingers, but trying to do that. I'll just go. No, you go in front. No, you go in front.
Yeah. There's that element of like, I don't trust it 100%.
I hope it's malevolent.
Well, I think it is. It could be unconscious, but it's like, we'll go. I know I've got friends who've got the jab, and they're all proud. It's like, oh well, you do you. Hopefully, you don't get sick. But even I've seen a meme put up today. Vaccines is a gateway to concerts. Like,
it's not though. When has anyone officially said that or said international travel will open up? No one has said it, and we should not be talking to ourselves, amongst ourselves to try and come up with what we think it might mean, but really talking and if we don't get an answer from governments about this, assuming that they have taken power in some kind of coup of control and are not willing to give it back, and we should start thinking that's the state of affairs right now.
Well, that air travel backfired because now they won't let people on the planes if they have the jab.
Yeah,
it causes blood clots. All the pilots are. They're dying, from the shots. I mean, we covered this on your last show that 80% of British Airways has been grounded.
Yeah,
the pilots have been grounded.
Yeah, Viking. It became mandatory for aged air carers in Australia to have the jab, and it's like, that sounds a bit draconian. that sounds a bit sort of tyrannical, and it's because they said it'll never be mandatory, or it's unfolding. And to address what Cortek pointed out, with government, we have to ask governments about blah 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 blah. And it's like I did hear you, but my brain just gone But if you look at the actions of the governments for the last 18 months, it's like they have no clue of what's going on.
I mean, they're well known for being dangerously incompetent, so I'm not really sure why people are so.
They're proving it now.
Oh no, you guys take the reins on this. No, hey, you've proven yourself that you can manage things very well in the past.
I trust you. Not it's like there's even that cognitive dissonance of like because I mean it's a theory that's been out for a long time, and there's an element of truth in the lie because that's how a lie works. There's an element of truth, but the Q Nation pushed that there's a small Pizzagate, there's a small cabal of pedophiles that control the world. Oh, that's just silly. Oh, did you see what happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, I know. Like, you can't make the connection where Jeffrey Epstein was arrested for underage shenanigans, and he had Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, a lot of Bills apparently, Prince Andrew. It's like it can't be one or the other. It's like if only there was a journalist still alive today on the planet. Anyway, we're coming up to the break. Yeah. Oh, I know. I've just had enough. I'm a comedian. I'm not supposed to do all this investigating stuff unless I make fun of it.
I saw over the week there's been some blue beam. Come on, give us more. There's been some blue beam sightings in the smog over China of a wonky pyramid. And I think the designer's probably designing because you can only really get a half decent picture in like heavy smog or anything like that. I think they thought, well, okay, what do you reckon? Just a pyramid like facing upwards, or should we invert it, or wonky angle? And they all just went wonky angle. It makes it feel real. Otherwise, it just feels like,
Now, be careful, Cortek, because you actually may see a Lemurian sky city with pyramids phase into this frequency.
Yes.
So discernment.
There are sky cities.
Yes, that was going to. We'll come back to that. You're listening to where are we? Oh yes, Revolution Radio Studio A. This is Planet Collingwood. We're halfway. We're all going to go into the dressing rooms and suck on some oranges, and then we'll come back for the second half. Stick around. We'll be back after this message. Hello there. Welcome back to Planet Collingwood. It's an open round table. Yeah, let's be fair. It's a round table. We're open. Hey, on Studio A here at Revolution Radio. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio and donate what you can so this station can continue broadcasting. We're 100% listener supported, the longest crowd-funded project on the internet till someone tells me I'm wrong. And I'm not including taxpayer money. I'm just putting that out there. And we're not backed by a caliphate, as Stephen Crowder likes to point out. And I'm joined by Cortek and the Viking. I'm Monty Dean. And you're awesome. Has anyone told you awesome today? You're awesome. You're awesome.
No, but thank you.
You're awesome. Well, you're a co-creating human being spirit injected.
Should we be saying we're awesome then?
Well, yeah, of course, we're awesome. They're a reflection of you. That's how it works. See, by saying someone you're awesome, they're awesome. And if someone says, well, no, you're a bucket of poo, guess what? That's what they're, we're a reflection of them. Mm-hmm. When people get angry, I'm just a mirror. Now, would you like to hear some good news?
Oh, yeah.
The audiobook of Stardust Ranch is finally up for sale on the interwebs.
Nice. What does that retail for?
Well, depending which site you go to. So I'm not sure because I'm going through a publishing site and they're putting it out there.
Roughly.
Well, I've seen one for $17 and it's like, well, that's half price because we wanted to go for $34, but each platform has their own.
They control the pricing and stuff.
Basically. So if I get anything, I'll be happy. So if you want to hear me talk for 7.5 hours, get the audio. I explained to a friend I've done an audiobook for a friend of mine. Oh, what's the book about? Oh, extraterrestrials, ghosts, and an 8,000-year-old time portal.
It's a rich tapestry.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. It's like, yeah, it is. You should check it out. So if you're not a fan of Amazon, there's over 40 other websites that you can go through.
What's it called?
Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story. And if you put them into initials, that spells tits.
Nice.
Yeah. So don't do that. That's
cheeky anagrams.
I have 4 minutes of myself on Amazon, and I listened to it and was like, okay, well, it's an interpretation, so we'll see what the universe unfolds. So I've done my bit.
That's super cool. Well done.
Yeah, I'm published. I'm a published man, ladies and gentlemen. A published man.
I mean, more people multitasking. More people. I enjoy it when I'm doing something else that I've got to focus on. And maybe in an environment where there's lots of stuff going on around and you need to focus on something so you can do what you need to do, but really are not getting drawn into any conversations around you. That's why I love audiobooks. So that's awesome. I'll get it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm waiting for the feedback. It's like, well, if it's terrible, blame Bruce and John because they allowed it to go out. And also, it's an interpretation. So it's my interpretation of the book. So there may be mispronunciations. My accent may be too much. But, hey, it's better than nothing. Or the negative Monsies coming out. Learn to read.
What accent do you do it in?
It's like a neutral monotone. So it's exciting, but it's sort of well, I know, buy it and listen, and then you find out.
No, I thought it was going to be like Scottish or.
No, and it was like, and when then I attacked the Greys, right? I got my samurai sword and chopped its head off. No, it's just in my half American, half Australian accent.
Right, glad we cleared that up.
Exactly. So, if you want to listen to me, it's just, or you can listen to this show 3 times.
I think it sounds cool. It sounds like some weird old stuff went on there. So.
Yeah. And it's still ongoing. It's like John really needs to move. However, there's issues.
Maybe you could
that.
set up a theme park or something.
Yeah, right.
People are into that kind of.
Would you like to be abducted?
Yeah, extraterrestrial kind of ghosty stuff,
No, that just seems a bit cheesy, and I think the ranch will not allow that because it's. But if you're fascinated by Skinwalker, and there's the Bradshaw Ranch as well, which, interesting enough, activated in 1992. And then the government bought it about 5-6 years ago. And
nothing
of course,
sus.
No, nothing sus. And the way they did it was nothing sus at all. Where it's like,
you have to move. We're putting a road through your house.
Yeah, no, not that level. No, it was the old thing of like, we're going to buy your property, and if you don't take our offer, we're going to take it. You. We're just going to use this legislation and steal it from you. I'll take the money, thanks.
Is the money still on the table?
Yeah, that's the fascinating thing. It was totally dormant and nothing was going on. And then 1992, hey, all right, let's get some gremlins going. Because a lot of it was bought in the 40s, and it was I think a stuntman. And he started up a photography business there. And because he had that connection to Hollywood, a lot of the Westerns in the 50s and 60s were actually filmed out there because of, just the environment with, all the giant trees cut down.
Where is it? Is it somewhere in the US or what country is it?
Yeah. All these three, what's the line that goes up and down the map? Not longitude, latitude or longitude?
Longitude, I think.
Yeah, long, because in the weird sphere, or for those in Discworld, the spoke. It's you've got Skinwalker, and then as you go down towards Brazil, it's Bradshaw, and Stardust Ranch is the bottom one, and they're all on the same sort of ley line-esque type of thing, which is fascinating.
But it's a longitudinal line, not a latitudinal line.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting. There's a latitudinal line that runs through the states in the bottom third, basically. In every single state it runs through, there is a correctional facility that still has the death sentence. It's like they're channeling this energy in there,
Oh, yeah. In Russia, they actually did experiments where they I got this from David Wilcock, when I thought he was good. But they would create pyramids, sort of out of anything, like copper wiring or just plastic, but it was the shape of the pyramid. And they would put rocks and stones and, did all this other stuff. And they come back and all the stones have moved into this pretty patterns, like you're pouring sugar on top of a plate above a speaker. You know how there's all those patterns. But
cymatics.
Yeah. They actually put in some, I'm going to say cinder blocks, some bricks or cinder blocks or something like that. And they put it in there for a certain amount of time. And then they the building material went and was used in a new prison. And strangely enough, their rehabilitation level is through the roof.
Oh my God, I love that. That is like hearing the stories of Yamamoto freezing water with intention.
Yeah,
it's one of those pivotal things, and that whole Yamamoto thing, scientifically, or if you go and have a look on the web, people haven't been able to reproduce it. But I've frozen some water in my fridge, and it's in Avatar how there's got lots of those landscapes. It seems like rock arcs. And lots of the rock arcs, and some of them don't meet, kind of thing. There was cubes of ice that were doing this this like frozen in this caterpillar spike trying to meet itself in an arc of water.
Yeah.
Weird night in the old freezer.
Yeah, and we're 80%, 70% water as well. So imagine what your thoughts are. And
that's what I wanted to ask Viking about when we were talking the other week about how the Coriolis effect affects people in the northern and southern hemisphere differently, and since we're made up of so much water, how that affects us.
Are you saying we're backwards? Just different.
No, I believe clockwise is a biased term.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again on this show. We're not down under. We're on top of the world. All your maps are wrong because no one has pointed out why they decided that north was up.
Or we're both sideways, and the other one just keeps rotating up and down.
Oh yeah, it's like when people we this and this, like we live in a hologram. What? Yeah, that just baked your noodle, didn't it? And when you say hologram, it's like you mean a simulation like a computer. It's like no, we're part of the consciousness that all is and was and will be. It makes sense that there's a simulation, and it's when people the whole there's an awakening on the planet. It's like you've just woken up to the corruption and the politics. You have another 99% of waking up to whatever. And as you pointed out with these certain things, where the reality that we're told in the mainstream news is not what reality is. Where there's a car crash and a mother can lift a car off a baby because they've found the strength to save their child.
Did that not really happen?
Yeah,
that was just a rush of adrenaline and stuff.
Yeah, but still, it's it still happened.
It's more than that. And my daughter was playing at a dairy ranch one time, and she was climbing this fence, and the fence was 12 feet long, tubular metal fence, right? And it fell on top of her. And this is when she was like, I don't know, 9. And her friend, who was also 9, one hand lifted the fence off the ground and pulled her out.
Yeah.
You tell me how that could possibly happen. That wasn't adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, adrenaline's involved. Well, if they're tapping into their true, tapping into their true power of a god creating being, a goddess creating being.
A superhero.
Now here's another one. I used to drive to the Southwest a lot in my 77 Westphalia back in the 90s, and we go down Highway 5. All the rest stops are like every 23, 24 miles, and you could camp in them as long as you're in your vehicle, right? So I'm trying to make it to this. I used to do Vision Quest in Sedona back then, and so I start off in the evening, and I figure, well, if I get halfway there and I can rest, I can make it the rest of the way. So I'm going down this highway, and it's like, it's already dark, and I'm starting to get sleepy, and I pass this one rest stop, and it says next rest stop, 24 miles. And so I can make it one way. There's this thing where you're falling asleep, but we want to make it,
Yeah.
And so I get about 5 miles, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up, and I'm exiting the freeway with my blinker on.
What? Who turned the blinker on?
Now who drove the last 20 miles?
Yeah, and there's also stories of has it happened to you, Viking, where a 2-hour trip takes 45 minutes?
Oh, I have. Yeah, yes. And I've also done things where I'm in one part of the city, and all of a sudden it's like I'm in a different part of the city.
Yeah, there's an element of I think for maybe not for you, Viking, but for other people when they have moments like that, they're
What about me? Can I have moments like that?
Well, have you had? Yeah, you can, because if you're, when you're miles away, that term where, sorry, I was miles away. It's because your imagination / consciousness is somewhere else.
Your consciousness is not where it is.
It's not in the body, and so there's elements of. See, I don't know how it would unfold because the logic mind's going, this doesn't make sense, but there's another part of me going,
with your logic mind. Then
exactly, the rest of me is going, it does. Shush.
You have to get out of the mind and just understand that there are forces greater than we know possible.
Yeah, I like now going back to past lives. One of my goals now, I hope it's this lifetime, but I want to remember how to fly again. And I don't mean get in a Cessna.
I know what you mean.
You know, like with your hands.
No, not flapping like a bird, you twist.
I mean, like your whole arm.
Well, if I do
You're
that,
talking
I know
about
where you live.
You're talking about Superman style.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Where like even like the logic mind kicks in. It's like, well, you know, in the imagination, if I can harness the magnetic field around the planet and I can reverse the polarity in my body somehow. Now, I don't know how it would work, but it makes sense. If you can harness the magnetic field, you use the magnetic field, like Magneto in X-Men. That's how he can fly, because he's using the magnetic field.
Well, that's essentially anti-gravity.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember having a dream where I think I was testing out the flying, because I couldn't go anywhere, and it was like a enclosed little holodeck. But I was flying around and like, oh, this is cool. And it was an element of lucid dreaming. And
I did it once in a lucid dream too.
Yeah,
I also, man, it's so cool when you can sit there and you can just like, for me it was like I would take off, I'd start running, and all of a sudden I'd be flying. You know, it's so cool.
Yeah, and so if it's possible in dreams, why can't it be manifested in here? Now, of course, you've got.
Can be.
Yeah.
I did it super accidentally, and it felt so much like real life. It actually made me think of something that I can now only kind of really categorize as a past life thought, and it had to do with the Ural Mountains in Russia.
And there are
I don't know why I'm drawn to that area.
And there are people that can do it, and of course they either choose not to go public per se, because they'll be taken out, or their feats are actually suppressed, or they're made fun of when they do it, because it's like the hungry hippos, the 100th monkey scenario. But the example I actually use is, are you familiar? I can't remember his first name, but Bannister. I think in the 50s, he was an Australian runner, and he actually broke the 4-minute mile. Up until then, humans couldn't run a mile in 4 minutes, and it was the elusive glass ceiling, if we can go a bit feminist there. It was the breakthrough that was needed. Now, ever since then, not everybody, Cortek can't go for a run now. Like 4 minutes, because the body's going to probably make you throw up, and the lungs are going, I hate you.
Yeah, we get past that. Push on through that. You can do it.
Well, without conditioning.
I didn't think
people
were trying. Oh no.
However, once Bannister actually cracked, I think it was 3 minutes 58 seconds, but he cracked the 4-minute mile. And
what he did was crack the idea that it's possible.
Yeah, and because people saw him do it, well, if he can do it, I could do it. It's that monkey see, monkey do aspect. Why is it always monkeys? But that's another 2-hour conversation.
I hear freedom works like that too.
Yeah, and so there's that element of if a human starts flying about, or we see Roger Bannister, thank you, Flippy. If not everyone's going, look, I can fly, but there'll be enough people. It's like, well, there's something to aim for, because I've actually seen someone levitate about 5 centimeters, which is nearly 2 inches off the ground for about half a second, and of course
they weren't just jumping up.
No. It's like, well, he was stationary, and then he lifted up. There was no exertion of the legs.
That's kind of
funny. And I kind of have to remember that, because it's like, well, I've seen that, and I've also seen someone levitate a cigarette packet between their hands, and it's just you ask him, so how do you do that? Force of will, and it takes a lot out of you. Well. You mean in the traditional sense of magic, like nothing up?
Yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't make sense. How can you?
Are good magicians.
Because he handed me the cigarette packet, and it was just a cigarette packet, and he just he just used the energy through his hands, and he was able to keep the cigarette packet stationary in the air,
but not willing to talk about how he was doing it. Sounds like a trick.
You go back to that segment in the Matrix where he's visiting the cookie baker,
the Oracle.
The Oracle, right? Mm. And he's in the room, and then there's that one kid, and he's bending a spoon. How do you do that? He's got to become the spoon, right? I mean, he's bending the spoon back and forth. It's that kind of thing. You have to see it happening. You have to know that there's no doubt whatsoever that it can occur because the doubt is what always breaks down that possibility. You have to become the spoon, right? You become the essence of that spoon in order to bend it.
The doubt breaks down the definite, doesn't it? And it needs to be 100%.
Yeah, like the term, you're a doubting Thomas. And it's not often I pull out a story from the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. So sit down, get your cup of tea, and have a slice of tea cake. I haven't had tea cake in years. Moving on. Doubting Thomas is, there's a bit of comedy towards this as well. Jesus was walking on water, as you do. And he said to Thomas, come on, you try it. And he walked about 3 steps, but his little toe on his left foot or right, his little toe didn't believe, and it broke the spell. And what I find fascinating...
I think he just wanted to see what temperature it was.
Yeah, well, there's that too. But what I find fascinating in that story, people don't realize, he walked 3 steps. They just focus on, you doubt, so it didn't work.
It's like
he was doing it till he doubted it.
It's like trying to walk past a bag of fertilizer in the hardware store without patting it. Can't do it.
I think Cortek sharing, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
I'm not going to walk into a Bunnings store with you, my friend.
It's true, though.
He's touching the stuff again.
You see the bag, you sidle over to it, you give it a couple of pats just to check.
No. You've just proven that you're a unique being. I'm not judged. It's an observation, not judgment. I'm not pointing out that you like to fondle manure.
Hey. Everyone has their own things, tend to your own garden. With manure.
Yeah, good. Well,
I don't just pat the bag. You put it. You got to put. You can't pat and just walk away.
Well, obviously you need to ask for permission because in this society, have you seen that with Snow White? Apparently, there's a problem with that because Prince Charming? The prince kisses Snow White without permission, and that's nearly rape. And of course, it's like, well, it's to break the spell, you idiots. And
that's what princes do.
Yeah, and so everyone's going nuts. And apparently, there's going to be a remake of Snow White, and the young lass that has been cast as Snow White is kind of brown.
How cool would it be when we're eradicating terms such as kings, queens, princes, and princesses from our stories to try and make them better for the future?
It won't happen.
No,
not with that kind of attitude.
No.
Well, that's the other thing as well. Like you can discover stuff, and I remember Bruce saying that there's more spiritual truth in the first 3 Star Wars films than some of the religious books. And so after that, I rewatched Empire Strikes Back. Just the stuff that Yoda not spews out, but what Yoda teaches Luke Skywalker is like.
That's why so many people fell in love with the whole series and took it into their heart as something that had a whole bunch of truths that they could live by. That was a solid movie. There's very little content coming out like that with things people can take away. Yeah.
Especially the latest, the thing that was missing from the latest Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. There isn't much spirituality.
Ideas, script,
plot, plan,
merchandising for the good side.
Why are the porgs there? No reason, absolutely no reason apart from sell teddy bears. But with George wrote it, he wrote it the first 3 from a psychological point of view. And that was the whole thing. And he used spirituality because he used Joseph Campbell's book, Hero with 1,000 Faces. I have that book. I should read it soon. I'm going to read it soon. I will read it soon. Aha. I've read
that it. Universe.
Take that universe. So it's fascinating to see where it's not about control. Like, is the dark side stronger? No, it's more seductive. It's kind of easier. And I think that's where politicians like, I'm in charge.
Well, that's why they set themselves up to be takers, because they know that the path to enlightenment is to let go. Maybe.
Yeah, it's fascinating and also like the joy of manifestation. where, like, in the book The Secret, get a photo of a Lamborghini and focus on that. It's like, well, no, you're half right.
Yeah, this is not an Amway triangle or
yeah. It's not
what's the one without the peak on it?
It's
Trapezoid. There's no peak. You never get to that level.
Yeah, it's not really a pyramid. It's more of a trapezoid, as to quote The Simpsons. But the thing is, if you keep focusing on that photo, you're just going to manifest more photos of a Lamborghini.
I was wondering about people who wander around with Lamborghini and kind of red Ferrari jackets. Do you think anyone who really owns a Ferrari would wear a Ferrari jacket? It's like going to a city and wearing that city T-shirt that you just bought from the tourist store.
Oh yeah, well that comes down to sports teams, and especially Ferrari in the Formula One, where that's supposed to be the top end level of motorsport and development in machinery and all that type of stuff. But unless you drive from Melbourne to Sydney all the time, why would you have a Lamborghini in a suburb? You wouldn't get out a third.
You wouldn't get out a second.
Yeah, I've seen like a Lamborghini driving around St Kilda here in Melbourne. It's like, oh look, he got to second.
Oh yeah, having a good time. Not going to park today. See you on the next lap.
Yeah, different in the United States, where you like, Route 66.
Different
you have
in Germany.
Yeah. Oh, of course, Germany is like the Autobahn. How fast can we go? Whatever you like, just don't be a dick. Don't cause an accident, all right? Yeah. We have this element of freedom. You may drive. This is the fast lane. You go fast. If you go slow, get over to that lane. Get out of the way. And that's what, with Mercedes and BMW and all those. Still, like to point out for those playing at home, the combustible engine is still a 19th century idea.
It's cool. I'm learning all about engines at the moment. I'm one of the titles I'm looking at is a car simulator. I'm rebuilding V8s and learning about turbochargers and clutches and.
And just when you're an expert, they get outlawed and you have to buy a Tesla.
I reckon I can break down like if I like the tools, I reckon I can break down a real life engine and get shit done now.
Yeah, well, since Viking's only a couple of weeks older than us, he would remember when even he'd probably be able to do this as well. Like, I don't need to know your age, Cortek. You're not the same as me. Let's put it that way.
642
weeks.
But don't tell anyone.
No. But my point is, like, the garage with tools and like the parents with knowledge, where they're a jack of all trades, where like I needed a stand for my extra monitor, and so I went to my dad and he built it for me.
Nice.
But that knowledge is like, basic woodworking and fixing the car, and I have to go see the mechanic tomorrow.
Boat builders is where that is an issue. Like all this knowledge of building these things or any kind of big vehicle or anything like that, the people are losing because their country says, we don't need to do this commercially or something. And then there's all these people being laid off with this knowledge that takes hundreds of years to accumulate.
But back in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, it's sort of even the 90s, but it's phased out in the last couple of decades. Excuse me.
Rick, you did a Rick. You did a Rick.
Marty.
I just want to put in there, if anyone wants to see SJ's Ninja Squirrels, there's go and just search Rick and Morty Squirrels. And they'll show you how the squirrels are taking over the world. It's a real thing.
Oh, fair enough. I forgot what I was. Oh, that's right. Yeah, just that knowledge of the father was the handyman, and and the mother was a whiz with everything, like cleaning and it's I'm not oppressing anyone, but old wives' tales. Yeah, but they're based in truth some way as well. It's my generation, at least, we don't have a shed full of stuff, and we don't know how to do woodworking or change a tire or change the oil unless you go out of your way to learn that. And
did you not go out of your way to learn that?
No, cars. I own one. Yeah. What type of car you got? Oh, blue one.
I did woodwork at school, and it was great fun. You make stuff; it's awesome.
Yeah, I know. My coffee table is very old. It's split down the middle of it because it's very old. It's from the 80s, and my entertainment system as well. That's very old, and it's unique because I stuffed up the alignment.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, and each thing kind of works differently. You have to work with it a little bit to know how it works. But you can be so standoffish in doing something or creating something, but you just got to get in there.
But and also, do the started ads of don't do home electrical stuff, which
That's
is probably
funny. A good one to
it's a good one. Yeah, it's like you may die.
Yeah. I was just saying, when I was in my 19, out of necessity, I had to break down my 52 Chevy and replace the head, and that was fun. That was when you could actually reach into an engine and actually, tinker in it. Now you can't even get your hand into an engine. But I used all open end wrenches, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's so amazing to take a broken down machine like that,
put it back together, and turn the key, and it starts up. That's really.
Yeah, but as Cortek and I joked about it last week or the week before, we'll probably pull. I think last week when Mechanic was on, we could pull a car apart and put it back together, and there'll be 17 things that should be stuck. Like, well, what is this?
4 bolts that you just don't know where they came from.
Yeah.
And also the new cars, my car's 2003, so I've got it where it's cheap enough I can buy good technology compared to buying a car in the 80s, where like a used car in the 80s, where it's like, you have to hand crank this to get it started. But I think my car has maybe 2 or 3 computers, and the new ones have up to 17 computers. You sort of have to go into IT to become a mechanic.
It's so mental on what should just be a really reasonably simple machine,
That's when I stopped. I mean, on that Chevy, I adjusted the tablets with the tin can lid. It's like, how simple can it get? The minute you had to start doing with any kind of a computer, I gave up.
It's just another money-making machine, is it not?
Yes.
Well, in a way, that's if you haven't seen it, it's still worth seeing. A documentary called "Who Killed the Electric Car" came out in 1999. Martin Sheen, I believe, is the narrator, and you can see how
Dragon's Blood, dude. Is he in the Dragon's Blood?
No. That's the dad of Tiger's Blood.
Okay.
Yeah, the actor that didn't go insane.
There's so many of them; it's easy to get them mixed up.
Well, there's Charlie, and he likes to beat up. Anyway, Honda.
Himself.
I think it was Honda. They created all these electrical cars, but they didn't sell them. They leased them to certain people, and they said, "Oh, it didn't work." And it's fascinating how it unfolds. But the one thing that he did mention is because the electric car, it will decimate the spare parts scene business industry, because there's only only 2 things that are a movie basically, which is the steering wheel and the wheels, because you plug it in and there isn't all the there's thousands of parts to build a combustible engine as well.
All these things that go wrong in all these industries. Should we not be moving towards eradicating those mundane industries? Just to really kind of give people a push to find what they really want. If we had everyone doing their own idea of what they hold most important, it'd be the most incredible place.
Yes, but we're run by idiots and ruled by psychopaths.
Yeah, but that's after we get past this whole politics,
exactly.
Politics business.
Once
where people with absolutely no skill.
Once we're free by those morons, of course, that makes sense. Why not go into hemp and a solar panel? But the thing is, the way that it's been done, I mean, the White House had solar panels on it in the mid-'70s. And like Australia, the sunburned country, maybe we should get into solar panels. You think? Germany has had it for 40 years. Yeah.
I think people are just getting a little bit too sentimental about trades. We have to think that once you climb a hill, then once you're up the top of the hill, then you can see the rest of the hills you need to climb. And we need to get this stuff done. We need to get out of this stuff. We need to get in new stuff. Everything's going to change. Can we just move along?
Yeah, but the thing is that there seems to be a balance in consciousness, because I'll use an example of music. They thought that MP3, they screwed over because the music industry is like, we don't have to worry about MP3. We'll still make money. And here we are today. But it's gone to streaming now, where you don't actually have to download an MP3. And it's like, streaming. And the artists are still fighting for
another way to
their
stiff the
yeah
artist.
exactly. Like we did this 120 years ago, and that was just printed music, so people can play on the piano.
The artists of
Kiss Me Kate there's a great film about that called Kiss Me Kate. Now the thing is, on the flip side, slight pun intended, the rise of vinyl. Vinyl has come back.
Yeah.
And so the problem that we have with the moronic controllers is now the idea of a one world government and we all come together in globalism. That's great on paper. What the hell are these people doing? Because they're forcing their own dictatorship and tyranny. They're not letting it evolve naturally.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. Yeah, that's the difference that we're having.
When power's taken, then always there is an overextension of that power. And then you get stuck with stupid residue like masks when we know, after all the emails that that even the person saying that they did so much, they could cure racism if you use 4 of them, it was total lies. And yet here we are with the residue of stupidity.
Yeah, and another example is there was a woman in Brisbane who put up on Instagram, I love waking up before my husband, cooking him breakfast, getting a cup of coffee and sending him off to work each day. And it made it to local television, and they were making fun of her because she's being oppressed and the man, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, because they think of, that's, a 50s housewife. And the thing is, if you force everyone to be a housewife, that's not good.
Or if you force everyone not to be a housewife.
Exactly. Yeah, they've gone total flip. Like, you should be allowed to do what you like. Where there are people, I know people that they're homemakers and stay-at-home husband, even stay-at-home husbands. They get looked down by society because you're doing a traditional role. So, like, well, isn't that the point of having this freedom of doing anything? Why not? If a woman wants to have children, raise 3 kids at home, and cook dinner. And that there's an art form in that as well, the base level is you're keeping the rest of the family alive. I joke with a friends like, you kept buying me food. Yes, you're alive today because I bought you food. Shut up. Yeah, right.
Okay, actually, what you do is pretty good, Dad.
Yeah, once you figured that out, yeah. But the thing is, it's like they're forcing you into a controlled reality where I've actually bought an external CD DVD player so I can listen to CDs through my computer. And like I bought vinyl again because the Mac doesn't have
CDs.
Yeah, exactly.
Macs don't even have USB ports in the new ones, do they?
Yeah, they do.
Oh my god, Wi-Fi is no good for you. It's no good for you.
Yeah, my internet is hardwired, so if I get crappy about it, I just pull out the cord.
Yeah,
but the Wi-Fi's on, so I can use it on my iPad and my phone. But anyway, small victories. But the whole premise of my mini rant, while trying not to burp, is that
do it, Rick.
The controllers are forcing it's our version of a one world reality and nothing else. And the thing is, it's kind of dualistic where we all become one because we're unique. So we have our own dream bubble, and all the dream bubbles create a reality. What they want is it's just one dream bubble of reality.
Yeah,
and
when they don't realize there's 8 billion. What is it?
Yeah. Well, it's like, I'm a musician. Oh, why don't you get a real job? We'll tell that to Kylie Minogue or Muse.
How do we control 8 billion individual ideas? Oh my god!
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing as well. It's like, they're winning. No, you've given consent that they are. It's like, this station's still broadcasting. So, like,
and the consensus is basically they will never win.
No, they'll try. And as Viking keeps saying, and I see it as I use slightly different language, it's still the same premise. The New World Order has to play itself out because it would never work. And someone actually said, and I kind of agree with them, if the New World Order came in lock, stock, and barrel, whatever the term is,
lock, stock. I don't know either.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, it would only last 8 months because it'll eat on itself and all the infighting and everything else like that. And people are like, you know what? I'd rather be free. I mean, there's an example of peasants in the in the medieval times have it better than us because they only work 3 months a year. The other 9 months they're living life and growing their own food, but they have to technically there's a lord, a king that lords over, and hopefully they're not a bastard. But apart from that, they only worked 3 months a year, which is during the harvest.
Sounds pretty chill.
Yeah, compared to now where it's like 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, and a job that you hate. Yay.
Yeah.
I've seen a meme as well. It's like, haha, you're an animal. And the animal's like, haha, you're the only sentient being on the planet that has to pay to be here.
I like that the dark side's keeping themselves busy though, but they really should just focus on the fact that they're not very creative and just go kind of head to head with just trying to do stuff and make stuff. I mean, God, destroying stuff's got to get a little bit boring after a while, doesn't it?
I've jokingly said, we've tried war for 5,000 years. Let's try something else.
And we know you're not very good at it. We're not going to laugh at you when you do your first sculpture or painting or dance or music.
Interpretive dance.
And flower.
I'm a tree in the wind. Shut up, Dave, you wanker. The example I use is that angels create, demons manipulate because they can't create. They have to tweak it. Like I've just explained marketing basically.
Yeah.
Like this is a perfect product. Let's change it. Why?
It always seems down at the beach. 50% of people would like to build a sandcastle, and 50% of people would like to kick a sandcastle over.
Yeah. And geez, didn't I flip between those two?
Makers or breakers.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Planet Collingwood, getting to the deepest part of your psyche.
Yeah, you're either a maker or a breaker, really. Which one are you, huh?
Think of yourself. You're down on the beach. It's a beautiful day. You got a bucket. You got a spade. You've got your foot.
You see, you have a foot. There's an Anthrax video from 1988. It's about homelessness in New York, and they interview some homelesses, and their mindset is you're either a victim or a victimizer. It's like, yeah, but back then I can see what you mean. Yeah, but now it's like, there's like 17 other choices. You don't have to be a victim or a victimizer. Be nice.
Yeah, it's a bit retro now, isn't it?
Well, there's so much
whole
change.
Domination thing,
and like the whole 9/11 spell has just dissipated. I think the conspiracy world is tired of repeating it over and over again.
Yeah, never forget that.
Oh no! It's a massive starting point, and it's fascinating. Just like in the woo-woo sense of where 9/11 was so great that even the prime creators going, "Hang on, what was that?" And it was like a nexus point of timelines and everything else, like it just everything unbranched. And all we know for that one skeptic listening, probably the FBI, Steve, how are you?
Steve, I think I was giving it too much credit. It was just another robbery. It was just a big robbery.
I was going to call the show "Hello ASIO" or "G'day ASIO," but yeah, it's I've forgotten what I was going to say. Yeah.
It rhymes. I think that's a good name.
Yeah, it works. I'll listen back, and then next week I'll try and.
That's what it was.
Yeah, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning.
You were on 9/11. The robbery.
Yeah. Well, just 9/11. We do know that the official story does not make sense.
There's an engineer's report that came out that says this is nothing but a controlled demolition, exactly like in Building 7. That's caught on film with the dude who owned it, who took out the terrorist clause a week before, saying, and then we just decided to pull the building.
Yeah.
This is not anything but a demolition term.
Oh, exactly. It's the BBC where 20 minutes before the building collapsed. It's Building 7, and it's behind her. You can see the building behind her.
And there's a guy who refused to pay his cable bill in the UK, and brought that up in court and won the case.
Yeah,
and still yet there's no healing over it.
Oh no! Even I must give massive props to John Stewart because he's fighting for all the first responders. with all the crap that they inhaled and all the disease, and the government's like, we're right.
And the families of people that died, who firefighters who rushed in there to try and save lives and were taken advantage by this.
Now, I've got a controversial take, a bit of an idea. When people say, "Oh, the government did 9/11," how dare you disrespect all those first responders? No, I see them more as a hero because they still, the government did what they did, but they still did their job and they saved people and everything else like that. I see them more, they're because technically a hero, if you have to be dead to be a hero, sort of type.
They're
thing.
incredibly heroic.
So
yeah.
This is brought up on one of my councils is that what they used was they now use this also happened in the building in Miami, that the condo there was that was actually a directed energy beam which created a sinkhole, but the pilings of the building were painted with thermite paint. They have paint that has thermite and they detonated the paint. So this is how they did it in 9/11, is that they used thermite paint.
Wasn't that done by the in quotes art crew that was in there for 2 weeks beforehand?
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many things. Like now, also, I'm not taking away from what you said, but for anyone that starts talking to people about 9/11, just start with the official story and then pull it apart. It's because I've had conversations like, 9/11 was an inside. Oh, did the Jews do it? It's like, well, I don't know. I can't prove that. I can prove the official story is full of holes.
We do
and
ourselves.
That should be enough. That should be enough.
Yeah,
that should be enough. Yeah, go ahead.
We do ourselves a disservice not to make things right, and this is still not right. There's still a lot of healing that needs to happen for this.
Oh yeah, but the spell of it is gone. Like there's teenagers that don't know it exists. They've grown up in a world from the ramifications of it, but they're not aware of the shock and awe of that that moment in time.
Well, they haven't seen pictures of Ganymede with the seams, like they put two halves of the moon together, and it was just wearing out a little bit. How do you let that kind of stuff go? I don't know.
Well, the mind's going everywhere now. Apparently, like Mars has 2 moons, and scientifically one is artificial, but they skip over that. I think
is it Io?
Oh. No. That's Jupiter.
Wrong planet. Sorry.
Yeah, like Mars, the red one.
Sorry.
The one that the Nazis ruined when they came just before they came to Atlantis.
I want to know about the ice one.
Oh yeah. Well, have you ever watched 2010, the year we made contact? It's a sequel. It's a sequel to 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I like.
I watched it less than 6 months ago, and it's so slow. I can't remember what happened. It's got the guy from Jaws in it, though.
Yeah, basically, is it Saturn? No, I think Jupiter ignites as a second sun, and the higher intelligence, whatever it is, all the planetoids in the system is yours, but Europa is ours.
Yeah, that's right. Jupiter's gas planet, yeah?
Yeah, and apparently the morons in charge try to ignite Jupiter. I'm like, good luck with that.
Well, that's the whole thing with the first massive nuclear test in the States. The physicists were going, well, there's probably just over a 50% chance that you might ignite the entire atmosphere of the Earth.
We'll do it anyway. Yeah, we'll be fine.
We got all these people out here, let's get my show.
From Project Camelot, the gentleman's name was Bob Dean, and I wish I met him. He's such a lovely chap. But he put forward the theory. Now, got to be careful because this is going up on YouTube. So all this is for entertainment purposes. There was a nuke on, was it Apollo 11, the one that had the problem it couldn't land on the moon? The Tom Hanks movie. Is that Apollo 11?
The one that was told to go back, turn around and go back.
Yeah, apparently there was a nuke on the craft, and they were going to set it off on the moon just to see what happens. Like, that's not science, like you idiots.
It's a natural progression from dropping things when you hear a resonant sound for up to 2 hours.
Exactly, it rang like a bell. What do you mean? Well, just that. You ring a bell, and that's what it sounded like. And yeah, so it's a death. So there's a lot of stuff, and I think in the conspiracy world,
would allude to the fact that it's kind of
manufactured hollow. It was a seeding device that was being caught in the orbit of the Earth, and as Andrew Barr would say, yes, the Earth and the Moon are having a lesbian relationship at the moment, and like, oh well, the Earth's kind of like that.
You mean like the really butch fat one with the really hot lipstick lesbian?
Yeah, is that the Earth or the Moon?
That's
and also, really, humanity, what are we going to call our moon? Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. No, wait. Surely, I'll just call it Moon. Okay, we're 4.
I'd like to have a public discussion about that, and I'm not going to call it a plebiscite because I think that's demeaning to the people talking about the issue.
Yeah, plebs. Yeah.
And I'd like to have a name competition. I'd like it to be like that competition about, and let's name this Antarctic boat in the UK, where they said let's name it Bodie McBoneface, and they went. And it was unanimous from the people. This is what they want, and they named it. That dude does. And here in our natural environment,
Sir David Attenborough.
Sir David Attenborough, and they named it the one thing people can get angry at, but they didn't do. Was this the whole? Is this your idea of democracy? This doesn't work. So I'd like to see Mooney McMoonface get over the
line. Space egg. Now people say, but it's called lunar. Yeah, but that just means moon.
Yes, it's just the same thing. It's not very creative. We need to give it a personality.
I don't know, Viking, if it's ever come up. I've tried to ask a couple of people, but how did they come up with Earth? Because it used to be called Terra, and it just means dirt. What type of what planet are you from? Dirt? like really?
Dirt out in the bonies?
Couldn't we have something exciting like Sophia or Gaia? No, it's dirt.
We come from dirt out in the boondocks.
We're on a galactic ascension machine that all creation is waiting to free up so we can all move forward. But we're called dirt.
Yeah, we do not know we are on this machine, and we do not know how to drive it, said machine.
Yeah, and how long's this all been happening for? About 50 million years, and that's without time.
About 50 million past lives.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's without all the timeline wars and stuff. Yeah, it's just going into the galactic history is like, this planet's stuffed. And why do we come here? Because it's fun. Oh, shut up.
Because it's the only game in town.
Yeah, but there has been a prediction that 30 years. Just stay alive for 30 years, and we'll have a chat.
Terence McKenna used to say, if you live for 40 years, you've outlived your generation.
Well, he did. So, Viking, would you like to let people know how they can get in, find out where you are, and promote your show?
Yeah, so we do a show called the Galactic Interstellar Council, Down the Rabbit Hole of Galactic Perspective, and it airs on Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Studio A. Mm-hmm. And, if you can't catch it because you're on the other side of the world, you can go to Christopher Jacobs' subscription station on YouTube, where they're all archived.
As well as the archives for Revolution Radio as well, if you just want to get the audio. So it is recorded in 3D version. Of course, it's in the Acacia. Let's be fair. And interesting shows, as always. Anything planned for this show this week?
I haven't got the download yet, but it's again, we're in this. I'm still trying to navigate this new expression that, as I said 2 weeks ago, we entered in a brand new a portal or dimensional reality, and I'm still trying to assess what we really need to be highlighting, and hasn't come through yet. But yeah, it's going to be it's always interesting. And of course, the second hour we always bring in a galactic or an elemental guest, and they weigh in on the topic.
Yeah, since the solstice, so I definitely felt a change, and everything's this is new. And it's weird.
Huge.
And it's
huge.
Yeah. And it was big too. And I just had a thought then. You can see why, evolution in this energetically, it takes a while because we're in the fast lane and on the autobahn near Berlin. It's like bam, bam, bam. Like, can I have a rest, please? No, bam, bam, bam.
No, and we've hit the tipping point. Like we're at the top of the roller coaster, about ready to descend. And it's like you just gotta buckle up, Buttercup, because it's gonna be a wild ride.
Yep. So find your passion, love, don't have judgment, all those awesome things, and we'll all make it through, and we'll get on the other side, and we'll all have a shandy at the bar on Ganymede just to make Cortek happy.
We'll have an after party.
Oh yeah, that's going to take a lifetime. I've decided. I know you got to go out and do your work. I think unless I'm told otherwise from myself, I'm going to have a break.
a vacation lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. I want to tour the earth, and I want to go to South Africa, and there's all these places. I could spend a month in the Vatican Library, and
if you were allowed.
Oh, how about the catacombs, man?
That's what I meant. Yeah, the library underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all that type of stuff. So you have been listening to Planet Collingwood Roundtable. My name's Monty Dean. He's Cortek, and that's the Viking. Thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey, and I'm on too many things. I blame big tech and their censorship.
You need to have a list when you have 17 of them.
I do have a list somewhere. Here it is. You can find this show on Wafer Thin Entertainment, which is on YouTube, Facebook, Odyssey, Rumble, Pocket Net, Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Twitch, BitChute, Twitter, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Instagram. As well as the Revolution Radio. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm doing my bit, and hopefully it all unfolds and we all win, because that's the plan, really. So thank you very much. Cortek, where can people find you? Maybe your lounge room, you'll move to the kitchen?
I might move the kitchen. I might go to the toilet. Julius Assange's main US witness confessed that he lied in testimony this week. It's pretty big stuff.
Oh, nice. And I'll leave you with this. Free Britney. All right, people. We'll see you soon. Take care. You've been awesome. I love you from afar. And let's keep it that way. See you soon. Bye.